Good evening, everyone. Here we are on a nice Friday evening in Sacramento, California, and we have got another interview with a local creative who is making a splash in the Sacramento area with not only one comic that his whole franchise is based around, but with a new store as well. So welcome to the show, Brent Sands. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Ben. I appreciate you.
Yes, of course. No, this is great. So just to give everyone a little backstory, because we're going to find out more about you, about your books. You had done a great job of reaching out and getting your comic into the minds of the Sacramento readers, because I had seen it multiple times. I'd heard from people about you, and you were actually awesome enough to come by, stop at the store, and say, "Hey, Ben, I'm Brent. Here's the book I do. I'd like you to check it out." That was actually very amazing, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No, it's I wanted to come by sooner, but it was just a matter of time of getting established. We didn't have enough inventory for more than what we had at that moment. But thank you from the support of the people who were tuned in and reading. We finally were able to get enough inventory to outsource. So I spent the day like driving around, just introducing myself to people and meeting new people. And that was the day I met you.
That's great. That is great.
Well, the crazy thing is, I actually met you before, but you probably didn't remember. I came in a couple years before asking you how to start a comic book, and then
That's awesome.
Back. Yeah.
What was I able to impart any useful information?
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, yeah, definitely. I more asked you not on like the writing aspect, like how would I distribute it, or what like the process was of getting books made. I think is what I asked you. Because I didn't know anything about like the printers. You gave me a lot of different things that ended up being what I used. So you were very helpful. So thank you.
Well, great. I'm really glad to hear that, because it obviously you have made it work. So let's just tell them real quick a little bit about you and what you're doing now, and then we're going to rewind a little bit and figure out how you got here. So right now you have a comic company called Impound Comics.
Yes, sir.
Which you can find not only at his location, but right here at Empire's Comics.
Yes, sir.
Up there we are. And you also have a store over at Doko, which is that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible. Now, he's got 2 books out from this, 2 side books, and a third one coming for the main one. But let's rewind a little bit. And how did you end up here? Where do we even start for something like this?
On how we ended up in Doko, or started like
just you doing comics in general.
So I went to Sac State. I started writing a novel called Fallen Angel when I was like 16 or 17. Ended up being a terrible book, but I took the whole journey, like 400 or 500 pages, right? And then when I went to film school, I minored in creative writing, but we also learned script writing. So after college, I wrote a ton of movie scripts. Some are about superheroes, some are about just other great ideas that I had. But I ran into the dilemma of not being able to fund anything or get it funded. I didn't know, where do you go after you write it? And so I wrote Impound the movie with no idea of wanting to make a comic character. I didn't think anything of that. He was just a movie-based hero. And then when I seen the Black Panther movie, the director of that movie went to Sac State at the same time that I was there, but he was a senior when I was a freshman. And it was inspiring, highest grossing comic book solo film ever made. And it's by someone I was in the same room with a few times. And he involved a lot of other Sacramento people, musicians, and he put them on the soundtrack. And it was just like, why doesn't Sacramento have their own superhero? And then I was like, I'm going to make the Impound movie into a comic book. And then when I did the research, writing a comic book and writing a movie script is, in essence, the same thing. After you write the movie script, you have to storyboard it. And so that's all a comic book is, So that was how I transitioned into that, and that was the beginning of that journey.
Okay, so you when you went to Sac State and you were doing you were writing novels, or you were working on writing and the film, both of those ultimately were extremely helpful in getting you to where you're here at right now.
Absolutely. So I worked at Fox 40 News for 5 years after college. So I have a ton of experience behind the camera. editing the audiobooks you were talking about. I edit them myself, so a lot of tools I apply to this outside of just the writing itself. Um, but yeah, that was it. I never thought I'd be writing comic books. I've always been into comic characters. I've always been into the games, the movies. I love the universes, the multiverses, anime, all of that. But I was going straight to the movies, and I realized I needed to take the steps, building up the audience first, and then that's still the goal at the end of the road. But just did a different approach.
Okay, so you would ultimately like to get to that movie stage at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now you're probably super busy right now because you're continuing to create the comics and do the store.
Yeah.
But is that something you see yourself doing down the road, or is that something you see yourself doing while you're running the shop?
Doing the store or the writing?
No, I'm sorry, the movie.
Well, so next month we're shooting a trailer. We're shooting a live action trailer for the first two Impound books when he's still a regular guy. So I hope after we get this trailer done, because we have a really good director. He shoots a lot of A-list artists' music videos, but he's trying to transition into movies. And we're shooting that trailer. We're going to do a Kickstarter, and hopefully we can get close to the funding to finish it.
Wow.
But I'm doing both. The store also keeps us very organized. It's kind of like more the office, and then we get customers while we're working. So it's just as much as an office as it is as the store. So
Nice.
I'm definitely going to be working out of it for a while.
Okay. Well, then what we never told them is why don't you give them a little synopsis on what they can expect from Impound and a little bit maybe about the side books that you have too.
So Impound, he's an MMA fighter, and a lot of that was inspired by, I think Sacramento has a massive MMA culture that's not highlighted in the way I think it should be. But he is an MMA fighter. He's the best MMA fighter in the world, but nobody knows because he doesn't have money to promote himself. To fund his ambitious career, he's a tow truck driver. And the other fighters started calling him Impound as a joke, and then he took that on as his actual identity. So he's Impound before he's even the superhero. That's already his thing. He already has the logo on his shirt and his shorts. Single father, and eventually he gets the biggest fight of his career, the fight he's been waiting for to show himself on a bigger stage. And that fighter is represented by our city's mafia, and they don't want their fighter to lose to this no-name person. And that's where the conflict begins between him and the holy mafias, which what we call it.
Okay. And then the first issue sets pretty much everything you set up, so we don't want to really give away anything more
Yeah.
than that because they want to pick up the books.
Yeah.
But springing out of that, you took the leap to create more characters and bring them into their own book already.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the characters in Impound his name is Saraf. And ninja style character. When people seen him, they fell in love with him. They were reposting him more than Impound, and then I was forced to give him his origin. So one of the side stories is 15 years in the past when he's still living in the Philippines, how he became who he is, and how he made it to Sacramento.
Okay, and the other one?
So we have two other ones. One is called Decimus, and Decimus is, in essence, our dark side or our Thanos type of character, biggest villain in the universe. Doesn't know any of these people, but writing his journey from the beginning. And then Alina, who is his nemesis, in essence. So she is a hero. He is a supervillain. And we're just seeing their journey in outer space. It has nothing to do with Sacramento. But eventually all of this will come together.
Okay, and so there is an overarching story that you're developing and continuing towards.
All the books that you read now, if you pay close enough attention, you already will see the connection, even with the outer space books.
See, that's great. That is a lot of fun. Rather than just have the one, like, can you read one of them and not have to have read the other one?
Absolutely. At some point, you're gonna want to know. So my thinking was this: is I love the Marvel movies, loved them, and they spent 10 years making this massive MCU that was insane. But what I didn't like about it was Thanos just showed up. Like he's just here in Infinity War. I mean, they teased him a little bit in Guardian of the Galaxy, but Infinity War, here he is, the biggest villain in the world, and now let's deal with that. I didn't like that. I felt like he should have had his own solo film as well, and so that's my thinking with Decimus, is I want people to know exactly who he was way before he ever meets Impound.
Okay. So that's, yeah. So then you can get the backstory, you can piece it all together and go from there. Now,
Right.
you've also got a pretty ambitious schedule here. You're going to be releasing new books pretty regularly, right?
Yeah. So we're on track to do. We're doing one a month. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a comic book. It could be our children's book, superhero daycare, or a new coloring book. But we're going to release some sort of book like
Perfect
thing every month. Um, and it's no hard date on that. We're not putting that kind of pressure on ourselves, but it's very realistic. We've already been doing it, and we have 4 other books that are already done. So we at least have cushion for a while to keep our word on that.
That's perfect. Now, are you going to, you obviously have your hand in everything. Are you going to be writing everything, or are you going to be more of an executive producer?
As of now, I've written everything, and for a while, I've already written up the road. So as of now, I'm waiting on the illustrators to finish what I've been done for several books, because I spent a lot of time writing all the stories and the backstories a while ago. So as far as me, there's not too much pressure on me for that reason as of now. Alina, I did have a co-writer, but yeah, I mean, eventually, I do want to not have to be so hands-on, but it's so new. Um, I don't. No one would be able to write these characters with the same passion that I would as of now. They don't understand them the way I do. So it's something that would have to be further up the road that I would pull back on the gas of writing, because it's just there's no way I can give you everything that's in my head about these characters. So that's it's going to be a few series, I would think, before I would ever let anyone just for sure touch Impound.
Well, as long as you got the ideas and you got the motivation and the passion, then
Yeah,
I mean,
I love doing it, so it's not a bother to me to do it. As of right now, I'm writing Impound's novel as we're doing that. So I'm fully motivated to keep writing as of now. I don't see me stopping that aspect anytime soon.
that's great. What's it like when you get the pages in your hands, when you see it
So
come to life?
so what's crazy is every time now it's been less exciting coming more now. The first time when I had Impound One, it's like I almost wanted to start crying, man. Like it was like I've written so many things to actually hold it or to really see it was crazy. It's becoming more of a norm now. But it's more rewarding when people tell me that they enjoy it or they come.
Okay.
That's what has been the more rewarding part. A bunch of my friends just walked in. We're still open, but we one
And
second I'll do like an interview real quick.
that makes sense, actually. That I mean, it's still neat to see it come to life, but now it's more about the reaction, since it's in the world,
Right,
of what people think when they actually read it.
right. That's the more rewarding part about it is people's reaction, and not even just as a comic creator. There's people that tell me like their kids now want to actually do something like this. They want to write. They want to illustrate. It's kind of a new culture in our city to be on this end of it. Not new, but the city has really been helping and promoting and making it more real.
Great.
And people like you have been helping and making it more real. And I think the traction that it's gotten has been inspiring to people in our city that, they didn't even look at this as a thing. They looked at comics as Marvel and DC. They didn't never see just a regular guy doing it.
No,
What I mean?
and,
So
and you based it in Sacramento with a
yeah,
Sacramento native, so
it's
that's
proud.
perfect.
It's a lot of pride in it for people.
That's fantastic. And you've got, what's neat is you got the kids book, so you've got something for everybody. What so the parents out there that are watching, or kids, what's the kids book all about, so they know what they're getting into?
Same characters. It's just
Oh,
like
interesting.
the baby version of them. So their relationship is a little bit different, but it's about Impound, it's about Decimus, it's about all of them. But just if they were Rugrats almost, So
Okay.
books are really violent, so this is just the more for kids specifically.
Yeah, you start them with that, and then when their parents think that it's okay for them, they'll just graduate to the
Transition,
next
they
one.
already know all the characters.
But it's not even just the comics that you're working on. As we've mentioned, you have the store. You guys can find it at the link we put below, impoundcomics.com.
Mm.
But at the store, you've got the comics, you got apparel. What can they expect in the store?
We just got action figures. We only have a few of them right now, but we're still working on action figures. We got trading cards now. That's new.
That's cool.
So we launched new trading cards, and we'll launch a new one with a book. We have our app game station for our mobile game, posters, um, more of what you would see in a comic book store. We're adding something new every week. So pins, keychains, and eventually, we want Funko heads. We want all of it. We're trying to build it, all of it. It's just one step at a time.
And
But
for those of you who aren't in Sacramento and can't get down there, you've also got things that they can interact with you online. Obviously social media, which you're very active on, but you have got app-based games, and you also have audio books, which you mentioned earlier.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about both of those?
So our mobile game is called Impound Vengeance. It's a wave game, no story behind it. It's just like a never-ending. More villains keep coming. Every 10 levels, you face one of our villains, up to Decimus, who is the final villain of the game. 2D. It's just the first step moving forward. I thought it was just something cool to also add that to the roster. People get really impressed when they see that we have a mobile game. And then the audiobooks are for the people that aren't active readers, aren't heavy readers. Like, there are people that just enjoy the films or the cartoons. I just wanted to touch as many bases as possible. If you didn't want to purchase one, you wanted to just check out the story to see if you'll even like it, do that. A lot of people who do the audiobooks double back and still buy the physical even after they already get the story. So I just wanted to turn over as many bases as I could.
But no, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
you might as well, because I think even for your avid comic book readers, something like that is great because you pop it on while you're driving, you get a sense of what it is, and then when you hit the store, you know exactly what you want.
Exactly.
Which is absolutely perfect. Now, we have 1 and 2 of Impound Comics right here. Of course, everything else that he's talked about is down at the shop. What's the address that they'll be going to?
500 J Street, Suite 155, Sacramento, California, 95814.
See, that's perfect. That's easy. And when can we expect Impound 3? You said it's on the way.
Impound 3 is on November 7th.
Okay, so right before the holidays.
We're also, and that's our 1-year anniversary. That was the first Sunday of November is when we released Impound 1. So we're also pushing to make that like Impound Day in Sacramento, where wear green drinks, special books. We're also releasing a anthology of Impound 1 and 2 on that day with a silver foiled cover, and it's only going to be released once, and never be seen again.
Once they're gone, they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing anything down at the shop? I mean, I assume all this is happening there, but
that's all going to be at the shop. We're also going to have a person painting live. We're like really in tune with just art in general.
Mm-hmm.
And then Doko, I'm doing a meeting with them next week, but they're probably going to have green balloons in Doko. Like, we're going to make it like a mini. It's not going to be as big as a carnival yet, but that's the goal for Impound Day in the future. So like, it may be like a play. It's a whole thing. You know what I mean? So
yes.
We didn't have enough time to prep it like that this year, but by next year, it's actually going to be an event.
Yep, this will just be the stepping stone to get to the next one. And
yes,
speaking of that, what I want to talk about before we finish up is you not only are doing all this, you're putting on a convention of your own next year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. February.
Tell us about it.
So it's called Comic Verse. We are sponsoring our own Comic-Con. And just thinking of that is just also to help push the brand and bring the community of the comic people together. We have Walter E. Jones, who was the first Black Power Ranger, hosting it. And I've been a promoter through this whole time as well, throwing concerts and club events, and then this is just a step in that direction. So February 27th, comicversac.com, or go on our website to check it out.
That's great. And so is it going to be predominantly filled with comic creators?
A lot of comic creators and a few stores,
Sweet.
and then people that do fan art. But yeah, it's a good amount of comic creators. I reached out to all the ones I know, and most of them said they'll be there.
That's great. That is great.
Yeah.
So February of next year.
Yeah,
that is wonderful.
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. It was good to talk to you again. And as I said, guys, go down to Doko, or if you just want to stop in here when you're on your way, we got 1 and 2 on the shelf, readily available for you. It'll give you a little slice of what he's got, and then you want to go visit him to pick up the other books, of course, and get your shirt while you're there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Again, you have a great weekend. I hope you're busy as all heck down there, and then I'll touch bases with you on the books because we're going to need to get more in the shop.
Absolutely, my brother. Appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.
You too, man.